welcome back. Hey, look, it's all finally appeared in there. Uh, all right. So back for another episode. It's I know that I've said I was going to be trying to stream every single day. Little tougher than it seems. I will I will I'll openly say that. It is a lot tougher than it seems, especially when you go for a walk with the dogs and what you think is going to be like an hour turns into an hour and a half, and and it just worn out dogs. Got to look out for the worn out dogs. So yeah, it's still trying to kind of get used to all of this, but it's probably going to lay out to be every second day at the current rate, especially with next week. A lot of work starting back in, and then that means 5 a.m. starts, and as soon as you get home from work, there's life to take care of and everything. But I'm hoping that with my own life, a lot of the gaming news happens for me at about the 3 a.m. mark. So by the time that I've gotten up, news is either just being announced or it's just being talked about. And it gives me the day to kind of listen to a lot of other opinions and then jump and then kind of it's a shout out actually to the Xbox 2 Discord and my long suffering wife, who basically hears my opinions on all of these matters at length and and in a continuing fashion. So with a lot of things, I think this might be a good little wind down every day, every second day in the afternoon, to kind of, after I've heard the news and after hearing everybody else's opinions on the matter, it generally kind of pushes a few thoughts in my mind going, okay, I can see why people are looking at it this way, or why somebody looks at this thing in this other way. So I'll probably balance out to hopefully have something to that degree. Maybe, yeah, in the afternoons or in the evenings. It'll all depend. If you do watch live or you do catch on VODs, drop something in the comments. Let me know, even if it is a case of what time zone you're in. Because if I can move things around and kind of match more with people's time zones, I'm happy to kind of shuffle a few things around in life to be able to do that, so that there's more of that kind of back and forth interaction, which is kind of key. I want to talk to I want to talk to the audience rather than having an audience listen. That's a key thing for me. When somebody just parrots on like I do, if they're just talking at length, only wanting to hear their own voice and not wanting to actually talk to people, that always kind of rubs me the wrong way. But regardless, let's step away from that. So quick news. I managed to actually finish a run in Slay the Spire and have finally gotten to the Ascension mode. So that was a nice surprise. And on that, it's actually been playing through cloud streaming, which I've been playing on my ROG Ally, because one thing I noticed is Wildfrost is on Game Pass PC. So I've got it downloaded to the ROG Ally, and it has achievements and it has Play Anywhere, which is fantastic. But Slay the Spire is available on Game Pass PC, but it has no achievements, no Xbox saves, and no Play Anywhere. It is its own individual game. And I could not have that. I have to keep going for my achievements. If I can play something with achievements, I will. That is just the creature I am. Got to watch that number go up. So I think it was 130, 140 achievement points just unlocked today in that. So for me to be able to do that, I had to play it through cloud streaming, and I was actually sitting in my backyard out there with the dogs while they were chewing on frozen chicken necks, and yeah, playing it. And even in the backyard, we've got quite a few acres. We've got like 3/4 of an acre, and we're a decent way up into the yard. The Wi-Fi was working fine, and was streaming from the house on one bar. No major interruptions, no hassles. It was fantastic. So thumbs up to Microsoft. Like, I know that people don't like cloud gaming because they look at it and tend to go with, oh, you can't play an FPS with it. But I think if you choose the right game, it can be a fantastic way to do this. Hold on. What have we here? Something is coming up, and it's too small for me to read. That's always nice. Let's have a look at this. Oh, Mishkin81. Thank you for the follow. Sorry, all of these little things keep popping up, and they're not coming up directly into a feed where I can kind of catch everything properly. So thank you. Thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. And yeah, if at any point you want to drop in and say anything, or even ask a question, ask a thought, tell me about what you're playing, please do. Feel free. So there's actually something that was brought up by, and I continue to shout them out, the Xbox 2 Discord. Fantastic people in there, and really good back and forth. Like, don't get me wrong, for every place on the internet or even in real life, as I've seen, no matter where you go, people are going to have very strong opinions about how something is. And this place is no different, but there is a level of respect that I think goes back and forth for a lot of people. So there was actually something that was posted earlier, and I'm just bringing it up now. It's something I want to talk about because there's a particular element. So it was posted by Hope at the Ghost of Hope on X/Twitter. And their tweet is, and I'm quoting verbatim, it is, take this with a huge grain of salt. I'm hearing that the next Xbox console is still coming in 2026 and will be called Xbox Prime. Now they've put that in, kind of quotations. Still unclear if it is a code name or the actual name. I've heard Infinity Ward's next COD is still being considered a day one release for this. Okay, thank you very much, Michigan. I'll give a bit of background here. My work history, my realm is security. I work in the security industry, and I have in manufacturing and production, and through many people that I know and work with and deal with, many other sectors of the security industry. And then that's taken a lot of my skills and time into various other areas, including gaming, companies, IT setups, a lot of work, a lot that I can't really go into, but on a broad basis. So here's something that is kind of key. If you hear a code name and it is out there years and years, and it is not a code name that is obfuscated. Now, I'm gonna use Jez Corden, a great guy, Xbox 2, all of that. If you go back and you think about Scorpio, Project Scorpio, that was the code name for the Xbox, what was then to be known as the Xbox One X. Then there was Anaconda and Lockhart. notice a key thing about these things, even for other prototypes and other code names, they're always obfuscated. Project Spartan, Spartacus. Project Spartacus, I believe, was the name for the Sony online, for Sony's kind of Game Pass, the PlayStation Plus subscription service. We've also had code names like Orbis. There was the Revolution or the Dolphin. These are the sorts of code names that generally are used because you have to specifically obfuscate what it is you're talking about. Until those code names are known more broadly, it is a whole lot of horseshit. I'm sorry. And that's the thing. If somebody is out there saying Xbox Prime, I actually think, if anything, they are probably obfuscating a very key thing, which is they're obfuscating the software. Now, I'll go into it for a bit. I'm just adjusting a few things here on the fly, just trying to make sure that everything is still working, because I am paranoid that that things are falling apart on me live as I go. So apologies for that. All right. Yes. The Dolphin. Yes. It's kind of a key thing that for a lot of the elements about how software works and how all of these. Okay, so the IT and security infrastructure, you never ever name something in relation or even on a tangential basis to the very product that you are trying to obfuscate. Because as smart as you may think you are, many people have come unstuck from that. So it never turns out the way you think it is. It will fall apart and you will have problems. So from there, look, Xbox Prime, I think if somebody's been told Xbox Prime, it is more than likely just a referential element to be able to talk about the product in studio. Because, okay, I wouldn't be able to say the company, but I've been involved with a company that has been developing a product. That product has the hardware, the thing that they're selling, and the software, and the services and bits and pieces underneath it. When it came to it, they had a, let's just call it crab hamburger. I don't know why, but let's just go with crab hamburger was the actual device itself. So crab hamburgers here, and then they had their software structure here, which was an online structure, and we call that shrimp cocktail. So crab hamburger, shrimp cocktail, and then the subscription services and everything else underneath it, which was the ongoing service to make sure that this product would stay up to date and working with larger structures out there. This was crab patty. So crab hamburger, shrimp cocktail, crab patty. All of those elements, crab hamburger, no one in the company, away from the people actually designing the hardware and the top people of designing the software for shrimp cocktail, knew anything about crab hamburger. They didn't even, they knew the name, but that was it. No one else knew. The people in shrimp cocktail underneath that would get told that it that the thing that they were working on was, say, another weird name. I cannot think of another weird name, unfortunately. And yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. There isn't a Twitch stream running if you're wondering, but the chat is sweet. Nice merge with YouTube. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Sorry, I'm still getting used to all of this. Twitch had this weird thing of wanting to define and set that everything for their chat for while I was running on Twitch, that they refused to let me merge the chat, so that people on YouTube and people on Twitch couldn't all be listed together. I apologize for that. I am trying to work out a way around that. Okay, so finishing off the point, all of those levels, the people in Shrimp Cocktail who did not know were told something completely different as a name for the software structure that they're working on. They were told, we are building a new software structure which will run on hardware. We're only saying that it will be the next hardware. We're not telling you anything about it. It's just that it has to work to this specification. It has to run on a hardware spec between this and this. Obviously, this is more PC based, but you know, they were given a spec line, and that's what they were told that they were programming to, and that's what they were developing for. And then as hardware got locked down, then they had more information. So if somebody is saying that they are hearing that Xbox Prime is this term, I would not be confident in saying that that has any relevance in reality to what is really going on there. It smacks too much of a very key obfuscation, which is to keep that software element dev structure, as you could probably refer to it as, keep that dev structure locked so that the people who know about that stuff know about that stuff. They're the ones who, you know, they're the software developers. They're the people making the games. They need to know this because they're building to a particular software structure. And that's the key part to it. Especially, and this is the key thing, especially if the next hardware iterations that are going to be out there are able to be more based around the software. Like the software is the thing that runs everything, and it doesn't matter what hardware you put it on, it will scale to it, or it'll bump it up and down. You know, maybe an idea for a handheld, or, you know, BYOC, bring your own console. Could be many things like that. So there's those things. And when it comes to like a key thing as well for someone, look, the Ghost of Hope, apparently, like, I did a quick look around. Apparently they're a very well-known leaker for Call of Duty, and look, that's great. I'm not gonna stand here and say that they don't know what they're talking about. They could have very much heard this, but I think for what they've heard, it is not the entire story. It is something very very much you've heard it at a particular level, at possibly, you know, junior or possibly senior dev level. Sorry. So look, and then generally there's a great way to be able to set and understand if what somebody is reporting or saying out there, if you can fall it into a very peculiar structure. Oh, hey Turtles, thank you very much. Busy at work today, popping in to say have a great stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a very relaxed day at work. It's not too busy. And it's kind of annoying though. You've just got married. You're meant to have a little bit more time off. a little bit more time off. But thank you. So there is generally a good way to be able to cover off on like what is a good BS filter. The BS filter is that if what is being reported, if somebody came to you and told you this news and went, this is what's happening, would you feel confident in one person on their track record that you can find on the internet directly? Does their track record on what is being reported, not their history, but what is being reported, have a look at their last 4 attempts. So it's, like this is not how it's like. We could go into how journalists vet, and actually Jason Schreier has a fantastic, I believe it's a pinned post in the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, where he talks about how journalists generally vet, like what is taught at journalism school, and what is happening with Gaming Leaks and Rumors and Recetera and all of those sorts of places, and especially Twitter, where people start reporting rumors and you start getting a roll-on effect of one person's heard something and then other people hear these things, and then it continues going on and on and on. So a kind of key way to do it is that if you're seeing the Ghost of Hope and he's posting out there saying next Xbox console 2026, Xbox Prime is the name, and Infinity Ward's next COD is being considered a day one release for this. All right. Now, to consider it, have a look in their history and look at the last 4 rumors outside of what they've reported. Now, if they've always reported on Call of Duty and they've gotten it right, fantastic. That means they have a great Call of Duty source. But this is not a Call of Duty source. They may, Activision and Infinity Ward may be inside of Microsoft, but you have to remember it is about the Microsoft sourcing. You always want to get things from the closest point of contact, not always as a step down the line or a step or 2 further down the line. It's, if you can look at that and you go, oh, actually the last 4 things that they've reported outside of that on hardware, on Microsoft specifically, have been great, then you can kind of go, okay, that may have some credence. That's where you go, possibly. But then if you consider it, how actually, this is one thing I am looking forward to, hopefully in the future, to actually interview Jez and Rand, because for the 2 of them, this is an interesting topic, because for Jez, he says he's a blogger. I would say he's a journalist because he practices journalistic standards, which is that he doesn't report on anything unless he's absolute on it, and he's able to present his sources and line everything up to be able to go, this is what I've seen, this is what I have in hand on paper, and those key things are your shield, in a sense. It is key to being able to be a reporter. For Rand, the things that he will say that he has heard, for that, when he talks about them, he on occasion has said, I have heard this, I have heard that, it has been told to me X or Y. Now, there's a very key thing of how somebody gets the confidence, how they refer to those things, how they talk about them. For journalists, and especially Jason Schreier, it is a case of he pointed out the difference in journalistic sourcing, which is that you get a source on the record. And when you have that source on the record and it is someone from inside, you go source on the record, not being named, as they may have repercussions against them for talking about information they weren't meant to, or that people familiar with the plans. So unable to talk about it generally means somebody inside the corporation, the group. Familiar with the plans generally means a second-hand point, which means this person has spoken to this person and told them what they're planning to do. So this is somebody outside that direct group or outside the business entirely, but they know what's happening. Those are the sources. If you've got this, you can pretty much go to town on it. But a lot of journalists will only go on a single source when they're really confident and they're a trusted and proven source. Some will take this and want to go and talk to somebody else off the record and go, I've heard this. Is this true? I'm not going to say that I've spoken to you, and I'm just looking to make sure that this is correct. Can you say that off the record? And they will. And then that verifies this person's position. Again, I'm not a journalist. This is just how I've had a lot of this stuff explained to me and a little bit of my own research. But at the same time, I can be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'm wrong. Please feel free to correct me. Then sources familiar. Sources familiar do know. But if you're getting your information from them, you might want to find a couple of other people at that level, but you don't ask them, hey, have you heard about X? What you do is you ask broadly, hey, have you heard anything about X company? Have you heard anything about this? You ask in a more broad term. You let the other source talk about. You let them say what they know to be able to confirm what it is that you've got. Because if you ask, say it's the entire Oblivion remaster situation right now. Okay, so Virtuoso, I believe they're a contract, an external hire group. I think they're inside a large group. They're like one of those kind of structure studios that kind of work on projects. Like stuff gets presented to them, they bid on it. It's kind of contract work. There's been LinkedIn ads and listings that have shown that people have been working on large remasters. So say, take all of that away and go to the idea of Oblivion remaster. One of the issues that happens out there is that, say, I'm just going to use these names. These are not the people I'm talking about. These aren't the people who've brought these things up. I'm just using their names because they are content creators I know of. Okay, so Lord Cognito, Maddie, Mr. Maddie Plays. He, on Defining Duke, says, I've heard that there's a remaster being done of a Bethesda game. Now, he says that on his podcast, and it gets released, and people then throughout the next week are saying, oh, Mr. Maddie Plays is saying that he's heard that there's a remaster of a Bethesda game. I've heard that it's Fallout 3. Now, what you're not hearing is behind the scenes, whole swaths of content creators will probably be reaching out, talking to each other in Discord or on the phone or anything. And Colt has heard from his own person that says it's Oblivion. Rand has heard from his own person that it's Oblivion. Mr. Matty has heard that it's Fallout. Lord Cognito instead has heard that they're doing a Morrowind. Now, Colt chats to Rand on the phone and goes, "Hey, did you hear that they're doing an Oblivion remaster?" What Colt has then done is he has confirmed to Rand what he has heard from his person and gone, "I've now heard that." Rand goes, "Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I heard about that." So now Colt and Rand have got their own sources. They don't know if they're talking to the same person. You've now got two people who've confirmed with one another on their own sourcing for it, which then means that if one of them talks and says, "Okay, now it's continuing on," I'm going to say that, "Okay, I'm going to put a video out there." They put the video out there, then that news becomes more circulated because I've heard from my own source and from somebody else that Oblivion has been remastered. So then Cog, he may have heard Morrowind remaster, but now he's hearing from both Rand and Colt that it's Oblivion. So he goes, "Oh, the person I spoke to must have gotten the game wrong." He's now going to say Oblivion remaster. Matty is going, "Oh shit, really? It's Oblivion?" So then he will jump onto it. You then have a chain of confirmations that can occur. All right, so that situation is not what's happened, but that is kind of an explanation of the content created, the streamer culture, the online non-verification of all of this information. So just as a quick run through, it's one of those strange things that can actually change things around and kind of obfuscate a lot of additional detail that would not have happened in a period of time where journalists were doing a lot of the reporting for the news. As much hate as there is for them nowadays and in a continuing effort throughout the years, it's actually one thing that Kotaku were very good at. Stephen Totillo, who I'm still glad to see that he is out there and reporting. If you can, subscribe to his newsletter, because the interviews and everything else that he does is really fascinating. He gets a lot of really interesting points that he brings up that are incredibly unique, are not being asked by a lot of journalists when it comes to being inquisitive about gaming, which I think is where we need to be. Instead of combative, we need to be a bit more inquisitive. We need to ask why, because asking why gives us an idea of where it is we're going or where particular groups are going. So that's a kind of key thing. I understand everybody wanting to jump onto the idea of the next Xbox console and code names and everything else, but look, if there's a real Xbox code name out there, I doubt that Xbox Prime is really it, because that's a little too on the nose. And as you can see, I've got a lot of nose to know that it's on the nose. Other things as well, like the CES reporting that LG and Samsung are adding Copilot AI to their TV. This is where I think we're going to see a lot of additional kind of technology pointing. There is a potential for AI to be now more web-based in its interactivity, but also in its ability to be able to interface with customers. And that, I think, is where potentially there's something. The recent announcements by Sony when it comes to their own AI research and development, Mark Cerny's talk that was released I believe it was a few weeks ago, could have been over a month ago now, on the PlayStation 5 Pro. It was very interesting for the fact that he talked about, instead of going for their own building or purchasing, apologies, need a drink. instead of building off of a previously set up neural network learning machine learning system, they instead wanted to build their own. So it is obvious that he would have taken the very big step that is setting up this machine learning hardware and then running hours upon hours upon hours of PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games, all of the game content they could, through a machine learning system, a neural network, to be able to generate and build out an algorithm tailored to the PSSR, I believe it is. Yeah, PlayStation Spectral Resolution, I think it is. To be able to train those sorts of things, you need a lot of data for it to learn. Now, this sort of machine learning is going to be the interface for how a lot of things occur. And I think there's actually there is a potential of a larger, more dynamic change coming in gaming, which is that while we're using it for graphics, a lot of people are not seeing where potentially we're going to, where the things will change. CPU and GPU frequencies and die space are still at a massive premium. Like to do tap outs for revisions of SoCs and everything else is incredibly expensive, and it's becoming more and more expensive purely because the additional bandwidth to be able to make those chips is not there yet. Like everywhere around the world, in Australia, in the US, depending on what happens January 21st, but the CHIP Act in the US has been assisting and funding foundries and chip makers to set up new foundries in America so that more products can be developed in America, and also potentially allowing a lot of that work to be internal. For a company like Texas Instruments still do their own internal developing. IBM did the developing for the cell processor, actually, with IBM, Toshiba, and Sony all collaborated together at IBM's location in America. There's actually a great book. I will put it into the description later when I find it, but there is a great book that talks, that is written by the lead chip designer for IBM on the cell processor, but also on the IBM PowerPC CPU system that was developed and used in the cell, but also he then got pulled aside and told to use the same PowerPC system for the Xbox 360 SoC. And his book is written from the perspective of himself and his offsider, his assistant, who I think was also assistant chip designer and producer, probably production lead, I think. And it's their telling of a fictionalized version of the things that they went through over a period of 4 years, and it is eye-opening. Especially when you've worked with people who actually do that work themselves. It hits a little close to home. I will give it that. So with all of these AI pushes, I think potentially we're looking at statements by Sarah Bond and others about, or even Mark Cerny, about where the consoles, where the technological advances are coming. I think it is going to be more about being smarter with what we're using. If we're able to give artists time, if we're able to give artists better tools, if we're able to give the people who make games even better things to be able to develop and push hardware, but instead of placing everything about you have to really write it down to this absolute to the metal layer, I don't think a lot of people understand how very, very particular it is to program down to the metal, down to the lowest level APIs for consoles to be able to really squeeze out the most amount of efficient power. People look at Sony games and go, oh my God, it's incredible. They're doing amazing stuff. And yes, they do. They have some of the best technical directors, some of the best engineers out there. And a shout out to a guy who I met at the Mana Bar in I believe it was 2011. I will not say his name here, but I met him. He was actually stationed for a period of a couple of weeks at Chrome Studios, which is in Brisbane in the Fortitude Valley. And we had quite a few drinks, and I was actually talking to him. He was here helping Chrome Studios with porting, I believe it was, now I could be wrong, but this is just what he told me. He was helping with the engineering efforts to be able to port Star Wars: The Force Unleashed to the PlayStation 3. Now that will tell you, if you go online, and I have online right here. Let's see if this does the thing. All right, you may have heard something click off. The Force Unleashed was actually developed, I think. Yeah, it was developed, and the developers are... Oh, okay, this is interesting. For Wikipedia, it does list the developers as LucasArts for the PlayStation 3 and 360. And it was ported to Windows and Mac OS by Asper. Chrome Studios did the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation Portable, the Wii, and the Nintendo's NS. Nintendo Switch? No. Oh, wait, they may have. Primarily because... Yes, Nintendo Switch. There we go. One of the key things that was happening was developers out there are fantastic. They can get things running, but when you have to squeeze every little bit out, APIs and some of the engine systems that you build sit over the top of your time that you have to be able to render out. So if you want to close down that rendering time to be able to hit a stable 30, although for the Wii version, I don't think it ever hit 30. Oh no, actually I think it did just... But there's a certain point where you need to crunch down those APIs because they have a certain amount of milliseconds in them to be able to call and do this and do that and interface everything to be able to reference or render or do this. So he was there to help crunch these things down to be able to get it performant, because the game did actually release September 16th, 2008. Now, I do think that it sold a little bit later for the other consoles. Yeah, PlayStation, the other platforms. Yeah, damn. Yeah. Yes, that's right. And there was also large things changed in the PlayStation to PlayStation 2, Wii, PSP versions of the game, because they weren't able to do several of the levels because there just wasn't enough space. However, train of thought derailed and took us down an old story. Okay, so one of the key parts for it is that engineers are getting only so much. For Sony and their games to really lock things down, they do spend a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort to be able to get those things working. And it can be a large outlay of cost. It is engineering time. It is engineering effort. It is people spending days and days and days just crunching down, trying to find a few more milliseconds, trying to find a little bit more time here, find a little bit more time there. For all of that, that is one of the big costs that comes in with games. Everybody thinks it's, oh my God, it's Spider-Man 2, it's $300 million, it's Concord, $400 million. All of these things, people consider that. It's the time when you really consider it. It is about efficient use of time. A lot of money is chewed up in bringing in engineers, in bringing in additional groups, in going, okay, we've got this game ready to rock and roll. We need art assets made. So you spend a shitload of money. You hire additional studios. Now, you go and look at the credits for any AAA game. You go and have a look at them. What you will see now is that there is the studio that makes the game, and then there will be a whole bunch of other studios listed where they have a handful of people. It might be Virtuos, and you might see 30 artists, 30 3D modelers, 3 engineers, 1 technical artist, a couple of people for lighting, another person for rendering. Those people are being hired in to make and adjust things for the game. The game's in production. They know what they need to make. The concept artists have drawn it. The writer has laid everything out. The director has given them the briefs on what needs to happen. So then it's just needing bodies. And a studio, say Naughty Dog. Actually, Naughty Dog is a great example. They are a fantastic studio, and they've got a lot of people, but people were wondering why the credits for The Last of Us Part 2, when it came out, why it was like over 800 people on listed as staff in actual development. It's because a lot of them were additional artists that were told, we need this, we need that, we're making this game, we need 30 different variations of this shrubbery, we need moss, we need this, we need that. And you can, with good concepting and good direction, good art leads, good modeling leads, good leads in general, you can then subcontract out and have those people work on stuff. That's where a lot of cost comes in when it comes to the actual development side, because you are subcontracting out. Now, the idea being is subcontracting, you're spending money to get other people to make these things and deliver them to you. They have to deliver the quality level, and they have to deliver it on budget. They generally quote on these things beforehand. But when you've got 10, 12, 15 smaller studios doing this work, it's for hire work. If you've ever played Game Dev Story and you do contract work, oh, I need you to make art assets. That's what this sort of work is. For all of those costs, that iteration, the subcontracting out, that is where a big chunk of money is spent. Now, while I generally agree that a lot of artists do feel very nervous about the idea of AI. Um, I think it's one of those things that can really assist. It's about making use of it in the best way possible, which is that you use it to iterate. Now, iteration is one of those things that is perfect for game development. You throw a grey box up, and then you fill out that grey box. You put a little bit here, and you go, oh, that bush doesn't look right. Throw it into Houdini, and go, I want it to have more leaves. The AI develops it and goes, puts more leaves in there. And you go, okay, yep, cool, that works okay. And then you go, okay, I've put it in the game world. All right, it looks really nice. So now we need to refine it and improve it and cut down the mesh so that it can be performant. So then you go through those processes. Being able to give a lot of that iteration work back to the artists so that they can iterate quickly and be able to lock down what it is they actually want to make and then get it into the game. That's where a lot of these savings are going to happen. And the technological advances that will occur will be about, instead of trying to do all of these things as a push forward that occurs before the game gets into your hands. Now, it's not the best example, but go with me on this. Consider Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. You're able to develop and use a real-world location, the world, and you are pulling in the data live. Now, you could make games install a whole lot smaller, a whole lot quicker, able to run quite well. And instead of having to pull down gigabytes and gigabytes of data before you're able to play, just pull down the things that you're using. Be able to run that live. Instead of it being, oh, I need to pull this model for this thing, it instead pulls the information and goes, hey, AI, I'm going to tell you how to make a tree. And you need to put that tree right there. And the AI is able to fill that in and go, oh, it's this texture, and it's this for the blah, and it's this for the blah. Brrr. Potentially, there's a lot of technological advancements that haven't been considered yet. And yeah, I think there's a great deal of ways that this will all change. But that's kind of it. Like that's where a lot of my thoughts went with how everybody seems to be looking at some of the potential changes and some of the other topics. So that's really it for the night. Like, that was something that was chewing away in my head. So I figured let's just talk about it. Seeing as I had a good Slay the Spire run today, I figured I would do this instead of trying another run where I would probably end up disappointed because I didn't do as well as I did for the other runs. So that's it for the night. We have been kicking along for just over an hour. So I'm pretty happy with that. Thank you very much to Mishkin81 for being the latest follower. And thank you very much to OMG Turtles for sticking their nose in and saying hello. And for anyone else who is watching later, there is the whole like and subscribe thing, but do it if you want to. I'm not going to tell you to focus on me, that it should be about me, help me game the algorithm. I'm not here for the algorithm. I'm here to keep to myself and to chat with everyone out there. The algorithm is just going to bring in more people, and you know what? I was going to try and say something prophetic there, but I can't really. It's more people. If people want to be here, that's fantastic. If not, there is no hassle there whatsoever. cultivating an audience has to be about back and forth. Let's not have it be about building a large network of people to be able to take over YouTube, because who really wants that? All right, so thank you very much, and I appreciate it all. I will probably be back in a day or two's time. If anything, I would say my suggestion is, if anything, go subscribe to the Xbox 2 podcast. Go to the Randall Thorn 19 YouTube channel and subscribe there. And if not, go to their Discord, sign up to the Patreon. If you jump onto their Discord, you'll find me there under Scarcely Relevant. And I will be back in 2 days' time. Cheers, guys.